Oh, this is a good question. Do you have to change or edit your resume for every job? Ooh, I feel like I cover this all the time. Hi, my name is Danielle Holmes and I'm the owner of Career Services by Elle. In today's video, we are doing something like a Q&A, if you want to call it that. So I asked on Instagram, I did like the little questions box where I asked my followers, hey, what questions do you have about resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, job searching, career changing, any of those things? And I got a lot of questions, so I'm here to answer those questions. So one of the reasons why I came on YouTube is because I want to be able to provide answers and help and guidance to people that are currently in a job search or currently looking to change careers. And I feel like this is like the perfect platform to do that. So that's why every once in a while I want to do a Q&A, because I don't want to just assume that all the topics that I have are answering every question that you have. So I want to be able to give people an opportunity to have their questions answered and to get the advice from an expert. So the first question is, what should be included in a cover letter? So your cover letter is what you're sending to your future employer to share your interest in the position that you're applying for. So you want to make sure that you start off that document with the proper headings. So if you're printing it out, if you're handing it, like hand delivering it or mailing it, old school style, then you want to make sure you have the date. You want to make sure that you're addressing it to the person that works at that company. You want to put the company name, the address, and you also want to put your contact information as well. Then you want to go into it could be Dear Mr., Mrs., Miss, whoever you're addressing it to. Or if you do not know who you're addressing it to, you could always just put on there, Dear Director of HR or Dear HR Manager. Whoever is in charge that will essentially get that document, that's who you want to address it to. My style of doing cover letters is different than other people's style, but I can only speak on what works for my clients and what has helped them land jobs. I make sure that my cover letter meets the HR or the hiring manager or recruiter right where they are, okay? So you have two sides of hiring. You have people that are super busy and do not have the time to really read a long, jam-packed with words document. And then you have people that will take the time to read those documents. So I come somewhere in the middle. So I'm giving you different elements that will appeal to a person on both sides of that table. So I start off with, 2 strong paragraphs to really show the interest of, that person in that position. So if you're going after a position, I'm really making sure that the words, the language that I'm using is speaking to that specific position, pulling in your skills, your strengths, your abilities, and all those things that show that you are highly qualified for that role you're applying for. So that's getting the attention of the hiring manager or recruiter that likes to see the wordiness of a cover letter. They really want to get into it and understand why you're interested in that position and how you'll be a good fit. Now, for the hiring manager or recruiter that's just like, I ain't got time for all that, that's when we go into the 3 bullet points. So I add into my cover letters 3 bullet points that instantly get the attention of a hiring manager or recruiter that just doesn't have the time for all of that. So that way you're able to really show them your achievements straight up. This is what I've done. This is, you want to make sure that they really align with the role you're applying for. You don't want to just throw 3 random bullet points in there. You want to make sure that it's specifically speaking to the role that you are applying for. Then after that, I just go into a quick closing and, sincerely, and then put the person's name at the bottom or put your name at the bottom. So that's really what you want to do when you're creating that cover letter. The next question is, how do you stay consistent with networking on LinkedIn? So my suggestion when it comes to networking on LinkedIn is create a plan. It could be something that you just jot down in a planner. It could be something that you jot down on a piece of paper, anywhere that you could write down, just like, these are my goals for the week. I have a dry erase board that is on my wall where I jot down anything that I want to keep track of on a day-to-day basis. So I would say 2 to 3 times a week, put on your calendar, networking. So that's just your quick reminder. Hey, let me network with some people on LinkedIn. Let me make sure that I'm connecting with people. You want to make sure you're connecting with industry professionals. You want to make sure you're connecting with people that might be, colleagues, ex-coworkers. It could be family, friends, people that you went to college with, people that are in professional associations. You want to make sure that you have a connection base that you can leverage. And also you want to give value to them as well. You don't want to just be a person that's just like, hey, what you got for me? Hey, you know that job? Are they hiring? Like, you don't want to be that person because they'll just block you or unfollow you or just kind of ghost you on LinkedIn if you do that. You want to make sure that you are providing value to your network, but that's just on another conversation. But make sure that you're putting it in your plan. Make sure that you have it written down so that you remember to do it. If you even need to put a reminder on your phone, put it on your phone as a reminder that goes off every other day or every 2 days to remind you, hey, let me do a little networking, because that's going to help you reach your goals in your career. Oh, this is a good question. Do you have to change or edit your resume for every job? Ooh, I feel like I cover this all the time. So when it comes to your resume, you want to make sure that you are tailoring it to the position that you are applying for. Long gone are the days of where we used to use the same resume over and over and over again. I'm guilty, but that was before the applicant tracking systems. When I applied for my job as a teacher 12 years ago, I was using a resume that I used to apply for every other job that had nothing to do with teaching. So that worked back in the day before technology came in and just took over the whole process. So it doesn't work like that anymore. So now you actually have to make sure that your resume is tailored to the position you're applying for. Why? Why do you have to do that? Why is that so important? Because that thing that I mentioned, applicant tracking systems, what it does is it scans the resume for keywords. So if you're applying for a job in IT, you want to make sure that you're using the skills and the keywords that are in the job description, and you're putting those in your resume. Not adding them as fluff, but really strategically placing them throughout your document. Because if you're applying for that job and you have over 15 years of experience in IT, and I go and apply for that job and I have 0 years of experience in IT, my resume is going to go into the junk pile, and your resume is going to go into the pile where a hiring manager or recruiter can see it. So that's why it's very important to make sure that you have skills in your document that align with that role you're applying for, and keywords as well. The next question is, if you are creating a targeted resume, how much time should you spend on each one? Now, I will say when you first start doing it, it's something of a process because you're kind of getting used to targeting your resume to the position you're applying for. But I would say by the time you get into like the 5th or 6th job that you're applying for, it should be a little bit easier. I will also say that some job descriptions are like novels, okay? Some of them are extremely long and it's going to take you a little while to go through it. That's where certain websites like jobscan.co, and I believe the other website is called Resume Worded. Those websites, you could actually take your resume and upload it into their system and copy and paste the job description in there, and it pulls out the keywords that are in the job description and tells you if your resume is aligned with that role. So those are, different software or different websites that can help make the process a lot easier for you so that you're not spending so much time doing this for every job you're applying for. All right, another question is, does everyone need a professional summary on their resume? Now, summary is bae in my world when it comes to resume writing. I feel like this is like a more of a style thing. My style is the summary style. I've seen some people that write resumes and they don't really get into summaries too much, but that's my style. So I don't want to say that every resume needs a summary because that would be a complete lie. It's not true. What I don't want to see is an objective statement. So I do want to see an objective statement either off the resume or replaced with a summary. But as far as do you need a summary on your resume, it's up to you. I personally put summaries on the resumes of my clients because it helps really capture the attention of the hiring manager or recruiter right away. It's like the first thing that you see, and I'm using powerful words. I'm showcasing their personal brand. I'm bringing in there their skills and strengths. And right away, they're able to see like, wow, oh my gosh, they did that? Oh, wow, we're looking for someone that can do that. Like, I'm getting their attention right away so that they'll want to keep reading the document. So it's part of my strategy, but it's not something that I can say you must have in a resume and every single resume needs a summary. That's not the case. I definitely think that it's great to have a summary, but is it 100% necessary? No, Will your resume get rejected in the applicant tracking system if you don't have a summary? Not really. So I say in this case, go in the direction of what works best for you. All right, another question on here is, what are other sites to look for jobs besides Indeed, LinkedIn, and Glassdoor? Well, first I want to highlight that networking is very important. Okay, before we get onto LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and we start typing and searching for jobs on there, you want to make sure that you're networking. That's priority, okay? Then we want to look at some job boards and websites and things like that. You've got the popular ones like Monster, Indeed, Career Builder, Glassdoor. Can't think of any off the top of my head, but those are like the major ones. But my suggestion and strategy that I always share is go onto the job board or go onto the job search engine website, whatever you want to call it, and type in this position that you're looking for. See what pops up, and then hop off of that website, go directly to the company website and see if you can apply on there. Less competition. Because if you think about it, it's so easy for everyone to go on Monster or Indeed to apply for jobs. Super easy. You type it in, you go in there, you apply, but you're applying with sometimes hundreds of thousands of other people. If that job is actually on the company's website, then you can apply and it's less competition. Not as many people are going to take that extra step to go on there and apply. So you'll stand out because number one, you took the extra step, and number two, because you're not in someone's inbox with hundreds of thousands of other applicants. It won't be as many people in there. So that's my job search secret. All right, this question is, what are some tips for video interviews? All right, I've got a couple tips when it comes to video interviews. Number one, you want to make sure that you are practicing and preparing days before your interview. You don't want to wait until it's 2 seconds before to log in and check your audio and your sound and make sure that you have the right lighting. You want to do that a couple of days before so that if you need to, order something off of Amazon, maybe you need to order a ring light, or maybe you need to make sure that, you're in an environment that's comfortable and a bit quiet. You can make those arrangements ahead of time. The next thing is really making sure that your software is up to date. If you're using a software like, for example, Zoom, I use Zoom every day. I'm a teacher, we teach virtually right now. And it's like Zoom updates the software. I swear it has to be like every other day. It feels like they're like, oh, you gotta get this update. And I'm like, okay. So check that out. Make sure that your software is updated, because sometimes the application will not run as effectively or efficiently if it's not updated. So make sure your software is updated. Make sure that your microphone is working on your computer. You might want to do a test run. You could always, Zoom chat with someone and ask them, like, are you getting good feedback? Is it glitchy? Is it lagging? You want to make sure all that stuff is figured out before you get on that meeting, because you want to make a great first impression. Next, dress appropriately. So, for example, I'm on here. I've got my nice little button-up shirt on, looking all nice, but party on the bottom because I have on biker shorts because I worked out earlier today. But, as long as you're not getting up, you're fine. Put pajamas on, put a nice shirt on, dress in the same way that you would dress if you're going on an in-person interview. Next, make sure you're making eye contact. When you're talking, you don't want to look around and, look to the side. You don't want facing this direction. You want to make sure you're looking directly at the camera the entire time that you're talking, because it builds that connection and makes them feel like you're actually speaking to them. Gives them that vibe that y'all are actually in the same room together. And next, watch your body language. I think sometimes when people interview, they're like kind of uptight and just like, you don't want to show signs of being nervous. You just want to relax, be comfortable. You're having an interview in the same way that you would in an in-person environment at that office or wherever, the environment would be that you would meet at if it wasn't COVID. So you want to give that same vibe. You want to make sure you're giving them that same impression. Next question is, how much time should a person put in when job hunting? Great question. So when you're job hunting, I would say the goal should be at least minimum an hour and a half, 2 hours a week, max maybe 3 hours a week. If you're doing the job search correctly, you will not have to apply to hundreds of companies to get a response. So again, it goes back to making sure that your resume is tailored, making sure that you're including the right keywords, phrases, you're getting their attention, you're showing them, that you are the perfect fit for this role. All those things are very important. And that's going to help cut down on your time that you would spend applying for a job. Now, a person that's out here using the same resume over and over again, and just copying and pasting, you're going to spend months upon months upon months in a job search, pulling your hair out like, I don't know why they don't want to hire me. I have all the skills and experience. Well, it's because you're not taking the time to do those extra steps of tailoring your resume. If you dedicate an hour and a half even to doing a job search, you can apply to like a good 5 companies during the week. And if your resume is tailored, you could possibly hear from half or all of those companies within the next couple of weeks. So just making sure that, you're also assessing how you're making progress. So, looking at it over the course of time, like, okay, am I getting callbacks for interviews? Are companies sending me emails to say that they received my resume? And also following up with companies, that's another important step too. A lot of times people apply and then they say, oh, well, I didn't hear back from the company. Well, hey, you could just send a quick email, and sometimes that just prompts them to contact you and say, oh yeah, you know what? We were actually going to call you and have you come in for an interview. So sometimes doing the extra step is going to make your job search time cut down, and you're not spending as much time in a job search. You're actually getting ready to get into that job. All right, the last question on here is, how do I make a career pivot? I have the skills, but I lack the experience. This here, y'all, save the best for last, because this is my area of expertise. Career changing, pivoting, all that lovely stuff. I love it. So this is what you want to do. If you're looking to change careers or pivot careers and you have some of the skills, but you don't have all the experience. Number one, I need you to remember that you don't have to meet 100% of the qualifications on the job description. I repeat, you don't have to meet 100% of the qualifications and everything that's in that job description. You don't have to meet every single thing in there. A lot of the times, these companies are creating these almost like a wish list, like your Christmas list you would give to Santa. They're trying to put everything inside of that job description because that's their dream candidate, but they know realistically a lot of people are not going to have all those qualifications. So that's number one. You don't have to meet all the qualifications. As long as you meet at least 80%, I'd say apply. Now, if you're missing something major, like you don't have a master's degree and they're asking for one and all you have is an associate's degree, then you might not have a solid chance of getting that job. You might, but you don't want to just put all your eggs into that basket over there. Now, things like if they're asking for 10 years of experience and you have 8 years of experience, still apply. If they're asking that you have leadership experience and you have experience managing teams, but you've never necessarily been in a management role, apply for that job. It's all about how you sell yourself in your resume. Remember, your resume is a marketing document. You are selling yourself to that employer to say, hey, I have all these skills. I have all these strengths. I have all these abilities. I'm perfect for this role. Of course, you're not going to mention the areas that you're weak in. You're going to mention all the areas that you're strong in to get their attention. And then on top of that, you want to make sure that you're networking. Do not just rely on that resume to get you from point A to point B. You want to make sure that you are connecting with hiring managers and recruiters on LinkedIn. You could also follow up with them on there and ask them, hey, did you receive my application materials? Those conversations you want to make sure are taking place. And if you feel like you don't have all the skills, you might be able to grab a couple of skills on something like Coursera. You might be able to take a certification test without necessarily enrolling in like a college or anything like that. You might be able to do all these things online. Just take the extra steps because that's going to help you show that you're a competitive candidate when you're applying for that position. All right, so that ends our Q&A. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that some of those questions were answered. What I did down in the little caption area is I actually put the question and the time stamp of when you can find that question in the video. So it just makes it a little bit easier if you want to go back and you want to narrow in on some of those questions. You could just check down there for that. As you know, I'm a resume writer. I also write cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, and I help people that are looking to change or pivot careers. So if you're that person, you want to make sure that you are contacting me. My email is elle@ellecareerservices.net, and my website is ellecareerservices.net. It was a pleasure sharing these questions. If you have specific questions, you could always ask them down in the comments, or you could email me, or you can go to my website. Thanks for checking out my video. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.